Tesla stunned with their latest recall ever, spanning over 2 million vehicles sold since 2016. This sweeping software update targets semi-autonomous autopilot technology linked to recent fatal crashes. Tesla faces intensifying pressure to overhaul safeguards and address questions about the true capabilities and limitations of imperfect self-driving cars on public roads today. Details on the autopilot software update. In response to the NHTSA investigation and recall demands, Tesla will deploy an over-the-air software update to all affected vehicles, improving autopilot safeguards related to driver engagement and attention monitoring. The update introduces new visual, audible, and sensory alerts that are more assertive about reminding drivers to stay focused on the road while autopilot is engaged. For example, if the driver's hands are repeatedly not detected on the wheel over an extended period, insistent visual messages, chimes, and vibrations will prompt them to get re-involved in actively steering and monitoring driving. Should the alerts continue to be ignored, autopilot will ultimately slow the car and switch to disabled mode with flashing hazard lights until the driver manually retakes full control. This aims to provide a much stronger system of checks against drivers zoning out or even napping while believing the car can completely drive itself. Along with spurring driver attentiveness, aspects of the software update also tweak autopilot's core capabilities. Updates fine-tune autopilot's responses and path calculations when navigating road junctions, roundabouts, and areas where lanes merge. This can reduce the potential for it to drive through or turn incorrectly in complex situations. There are also upgrades to a pilot's ability to identify parked emergency vehicles and braking and evasion tactics in those zones. Plus, dashboard indicators will explicitly warn drivers anytime they enable autopilot in areas still under validation rather than just monitored alerts. Broader implications and reactions. While Tesla frames this as part of their ongoing work to improve autopilot safety, it clearly represents an acknowledgement that prior versions left too much room for driver inattention or misunderstanding of system limitations. Consumer groups argue the recall validates that simply adding more cameras or sensors is not enough if drivers are not properly restricted from over-relying on automation. NHTSA and transportation secretaries described the recall as a positive outcome stemming from rigorous auto safety oversight processes. However, they noted further monitoring is warranted and urged drivers to stay alert to gaps in the system's self-driving capabilities, since no vehicle yet fully replicates consistent human judgment. Reactions have been mixed from Tesla owners as well, depending on their personal attitudes and experiences with autopilot. Those who are ready to use the system cautiously with full attention welcome tweaks, but see this mainly as reinforcement of what responsible users should already do. No matter one's current stance though, this massive recall stands out as a milestone moment in the public acceptance of semi-autonomous driving. The ripple effects from rethinking between autonomous versus human responsibility will likely inspire wider debate. That discussion must include open questions around regulations, infrastructure adaptations, and even insurance approaches for this transitional era in vehicle autonomy. Industry impact. Tesla's massive autopilot recall and software update will likely influence autonomous vehicle development far beyond their own lineup. Automakers now realize regulators can compel significant functionality changes tied to safety incidents even without formal new standards yet codified into law. Many companies may proactively audit their own advanced driver assistant feature safeguards around elements like driver monitoring rigor, terminology used to portray partial automation, and customization controls guardrailing users' behavior permitted. Groups advocating formal classification requirements for levels of driving automation will leverage Tesla's recall as further evidence the honor system failed around responsible portrayal of semi-autonomous capabilities needing revamped consumer education. Mainstream manufacturers, relatively cautious adopting radical autonomy, may cite Tesla's challenge maintaining safe operation as vindication for pacing rollout gradually on restricted access lanes rather than treating public roads as proving grounds. But Tesla's setback could also galvanize rivals catching up on the autonomous innovation to leapfrog limitations of Tesla's predominantly optical camera-reliant approach. Companies with redundantly meshed LiDAR, radar, and acoustics may achieve more reliable object detection required before removing the steering wheel someday. Regardless of the precise technical paths ahead, the industry manages public acceptance around autonomous advancement equally crucial to engineering solutions. In that light, Tesla's actions pose hard lessons heeded across the mobility sector. Insurance and policy implications. The expansive Tesla recall also carries ripple effects for the insurance industry and policy realms still sorting out implications of semi-autonomous mobility. Insurers face thorny questions around premiums or liability related to accidents involving advanced driver assistance systems. Blame may pivot between the drivers, vehicle makers, or even infrastructure gaps depending on the circumstances. New subrogation complexities emerge as automation complicates crash reconstruction. Many insurers hesitate pricing policies until better predictive data help determine actual safety records or risk factors for systems enabling sustained hands-free driving. But consumer and regulator pressures may demand their price coverage amidst uncertainty. That necessitates more dynamic policies with premiums and claim assessments adapting as autonomous technology adoption patterns and oversight protocols keep evolving. Underwriting autonomous policies demand fresh input variables like system types permitted, geography limitations, and tech configuration details, including sensors employed, redundancy levels, and compute benchmarks. Operation protocols such as driver oversight rules, remote operator provisions, and minimum software versions become relevant pricing factors too. State and federal policymakers also face balancing road safety rules while avoiding prematurely constraining life-saving innovation potential long-term if applied hastily, reacting to risk transient within transitional periods. But the scale of Tesla's recall equally makes clear the dangers, allowing overly permissive mainstream testing of immature automation on public motorways relied upon by millions unable to consent as unwitting beta testers. Navigating uncharted territory, look for nuanced guardrails and more standardized classifications differentiating between strictly limited autonomous testing versus certified commercial maturity still lacking for expanded everyday activation proposed by some automakers. Driver assistance merits distinct governance from vehicles sufficiently autonomous to operate sans any human supervision under all road conditions. Public education needs. Beyond policy and regulations, Tesla's autopilot recall spotlights the pressing need for more public education around realistic capabilities and limitations of semi-autonomous driving technology. Despite warnings and safeguards introduced by automakers, many accidents result from drivers fundamentally misunderstanding what robust vehicle autonomy entails versus supervised assistance. Consumer confusion stems partly from automaker messaging glossing over nuance between bona fide self-driving versus driver aids merely enabling hands-free capability in ideal conditions. But public enthusiasm also outpaces sober assessment of risk from partially automated systems requiring substantial human collaboration. Addressing this requires multi-dimensional awareness efforts underscored by Tesla's challenges. Formal instruction should cover vehicle automation tiers and proper usage context through both sales literature and licensing exams. Explicit on-road signage demarcating approved autonomous zones also helps set expectations. Mass media outlets need better fluency conveying nuances across autonomy versus novelty, while tech publications must temper undue sensationalism. Safety groups should launch more immersive simulations conveying automation complacency hazards to motorists and pedestrians alike. Now, if you found this video worthwhile, please like and subscribe for more insights at the intersection of technology and mobility. As automation advances, we will continue tracing the winding route towards promises of revolutionary independence balanced against present limitations, still requiring our collective diligence behind the wheel. Stay tuned and engage as progress unfolds.